Queen was slammed.
I'll bet.
Everybody
Was it
walking
hot?
over. It was, I think, in the 80s, so it was a nice day.
Yeah.
Not sweltering, but not cold.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of fun. And we had a band playing, and I think we just had the band and just had a great time. But
All right.
this year we're adding some more to it as well.
Okay, very good. So look forward to that. And Whitney, what else is coming up? I apologize. I've not left us much time. So run down real fast what's happening in Atlanta the next month
The
or
next
so.
big thing would be June 4th. We have the British Champagne British Car Festival.
Yeah, I
They're
saw
coming
this.
through
That looks
town.
interesting.
Yeah, about 40 to 70 British vehicles will be coming through town around 11:30, 2 o'clock on the 4th. So if you're a big fan of British cars, come on down. And then June 18th, we're going to kick off Logan County Route 66 Days, which is this new Logan County wide event, encouraging people to go out and see the attractions, shop at the shops, and eat at the restaurants, grab coffee at the coffee shops, all while having a good time. So we kick it off with Cars and Coffee on Arch Street on the 18th from 8 to 10 a.m. And you can also pick up your little cards to complete there. More details will be coming, I promise. I don't have a ton right now, though, because we are still in the process of gathering all the participating businesses.
That's really cool, though. That's going to be a fun one. So
I hope so.
Yeah, put that on the calendar. Again, Whitney, anything else coming up you want to highlight for us today?
Those are our two big ones in June. And then when July comes in, we have our yearly fireworks show. This year will be on July 2nd. And then we'll have some cruisins. Probably July 3rd will be another cruisin. And our big market weekend and Christmas in July 23rd and 24th. 6 days and 6 months and 2 days before Christmas.
All right, very good. So, Whitney, if folks want to follow along with all things happening in Atlanta and all the activities you've got coming up, where do they go? Who do they call?
Check us out at Visit Atlanta, IL on Facebook and Instagram, or atlantaillinois.org on our website.
And you've put out a lot of new material lately as well.
So much.
Yeah, real quick, tell us about that, where folks can find some of those things.
So we have our new
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM W222 BG Clinton, 106.5 FM W293 DJ Normal Bloomington.
Thomason. A grieving father, his daughter, one of the 21 victims of the massacre in Uvalde, Texas, says that police appeared unprepared and moved too slowly to stop the carnage inside the elementary school.
Javier Cazada's daughter, Jacqueline, was one of the 19 fourth graders killed in Salvador Ramos' attack on Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. He says when he arrived during the attack, police were still outside the building. Cazara says he was so upset, he thought about going in himself with several others. Ramos' grandfather, Rolando Reyes, was asked why he shot and wounded his grandmother before the school attack.
I don't know. No sabe lo que pasó. No sé.
Reyes, seemingly stunned by all the questions, also said he didn't know the 18-year-old had bought 2 semi-automatic weapons. I'm Tim McGuire.
And last evening in Uvalde, a candlelight vigil for the victims, hundreds of mourners attending. America's big city crime wave continues. Shots rang out in Philadelphia, where the chief police inspector, Scott Small, says that 4 people walking to a prom last night were shot by a gunman on a mountain bike.
They were about to send this young male and female. They were going to go to a prom, and that's why everyone was getting together and having a party.
The audio from WPBI TV6 ABC in Philadelphia. Surveillance video captured the suspected gunman, but police did not. They're looking for him now. The number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits dropped last week, falling by 8,000 from the week before, dropping to 210,000. Stocks are rallying on Wall Street this hour. Right now, the Dow is up 416 points for a gain of more than 1%. The NASDAQ, 174 points higher, and the S&P is up 54. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I'm about to compare a pepper shaker to a cash-out refinance. Hang with me. You know when you're at a restaurant and they ask, would you like some fresh ground pepper? And then they crank that giant tube, but almost nothing comes out? For me, only a certain amount of time is socially acceptable to wait. I know that getting that pepper out might make my life better, but it just seems too impossible. And that's what we hear people say about the cash-out refinance. People realize that the value of their home has gone up like hot pepper the last few years, leaving all this extra money sitting inside their home. But is it too hard to get out? It's Ryan from United Faith Mortgage. If you're interested in cashing out the extra pepper in your home, we're good at doing all the work while you just sit back and relax. And often, Your mortgage payment and years in the loan will stay the same. If you'd like to hear about your options,
we are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Meadow Park Road, Melville, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Ukrainian President Zelensky rejecting suggestions by some in the West that he should make territorial concessions to Russia in return for peace.
We are hearing some talk of this from international members of the community that, for example, Henry Kissinger, the former US Secretary of State, talked about the idea of giving up Crimea, and that went down about as well as you could imagine with President Zelensky. He said that it's the sort of compromise that is akin to those given to the Nazis in 1938. There is virtually no chance that they will be saying that they'll give up territory at this point. And I think it's not just for politicians that it's unpalatable, but for the Ukrainian people as well.
The BBC's Joe Inwood. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss visiting Sarajevo. Her mission to reaffirm the UK's commitment to peace and stability in Bosnia amid growing fears of malign influence from Russia in the ethnically divided Balkan country. News and analysis at townhall.com. Video game workers at a division of game publisher Activision Blizzard have voted to unionize, creating the first labor union at a large U.S. video game company.
The 19-3 vote affects a small group of Wisconsin-based quality assurance testers at Activision Blizzard's Raven Software. It develops the popular Call of Duty game franchise. The unionization campaign by employees was part of a broader internal shakeup at Activision Blizzard. The new union will be represented by the broader Communications Workers of America. It's been stepping up campaigns in the largely non-unionized tech and gaming industries. Bob Agnew reporting.
A second emergency shipment of baby formula has arrived in the U.S. from Europe. The second such shipment of hypoallergenic formula to reach the U.S. flown in aboard military planes. Once again on Wall Street this hour, stocks sharply higher with the Dow up 420 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Scattered thunderstorms likely this afternoon, otherwise overcast. High temperatures reach up to 75, winds out of the south 10 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered thunderstorms again tonight, 56, cloudy. Scattered thunderstorms likely tomorrow, highs level off around 66. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 70.
Hear Clinton Maroon live play-by-play this season on WHOW, the Big 1520 Daytime. 92.3 FM in DeWitt County and 106.5 in Bloomington Normal all the time. Plus, streamed at DeWittDailyNews.com on the WHOW mobile app and Amazon Alexa. Plus, tune in for a Best of Clinton Sports broadcast every Saturday morning at 10. All brought to you by Baum Chevy Buick, Clinton Athletic Boosters, Clinton Community YMCA, and Midstate Eye.
Get ready for warmer weather with Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton. We have summer clothes for the whole family. We will also be having sales all month, so check out our Facebook page or DeWittDailyNews.com. This is Connie reminding you when you shop and donate to our nonprofit store, you help us help others.
This is Ryan Utterback with Utterback Real Estate. It's that time of year again.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to change my clocks.
No, I mean it's time to spring forward and list your home.
No wonder I've been late all week.
And that's why you're the other Ryan.
Click the Utterback Real Estate icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Using the latest technology for positive patient outcomes. That's the goal when you're treated in the ER at the Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. CEO Paul Skowron here to let you know we've invested in an upgraded CT machine adjacent to our ER. It enables our ER doctors to detect and diagnose what's wrong with a patient clearer and faster than ever. Bigger hospitals have it, and Warner Hospitals got it. Just another way Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton using the latest technology for positive patient outcomes. And there's more to come.
Just how low will a politician go to get elected? Ask Darren Bailey. Bailey's letting J.B. Pritzker finance his campaign. Over $5 million from the Democrats meddling in our primary, trying to buy the Republican nomination for Bailey. Pritzker finally admitted it.
There's a new ad from the Democratic Governors Association to help Bailey in the primary. You're behind this ad.
Yeah, I support that ad. It elevates attention to all of the good I'm
simply trying to tell everybody who Darren Bailey is.
And Bailey's downright giddy about it.
You're glad to see those ads from the Democratic Voters Association?
Oh, yeah, I do. And that's beautiful.
So craven, Darren Bailey sold out at the drop of a dime for Democrat money. Easy to buy, easy to beat. Pritzker knows Bailey's too weak to win in November. And he shouldn't, because he's just like Pritzker. Darren Bailey raised our property taxes 13 times, 81% higher. Pritzker's favorite tax-raising Republican. We can never trust him again. Paid for by Urban for Illinois.
You're listening to The Morning Show on the Big 1520 across Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services. And Paul, I always enjoy when you come in because you mix it up with me. We end up standing up for our interviews, and
we do.
I feel like I should do this more often. Is standing good for the body? Like if I was to stand here and do a 20-minute phone interview, would that be good for me? At any level?
A little higher level of energy, yes.
Okay.
Not that you need more energy, but
all right. Well, I might. You'd be surprised. I'm dragging a little bit today. I didn't sleep very well last night, but no. Let's maybe I'll try that out sometime. We'll see. But no, good to have you in, Paul, and highlighting inflation today. This is a conversation that's becoming more prominent. Whether it's yourself, school leaders. I'm sure I'm going to be talking with nonprofits about inflation and how it's going to impact their operations going forward. So I know you've got some big projects that you're looking at starting up and looking to embark on, and inflation is going to have an impact on those. Before we dive into that, highlight the 3 projects. What's kind of on your radar as it relates to those things?
Well, our budget was approved in April, and it included 3 capital projects. And one is the emergency room renovation and expansion. Another is a western entrance to the specialty clinic, so patients don't have to walk through the hospital to get to the specialty clinic. And the third one was building a new wellness center on some of the empty property that we have on hospital grounds.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So with that all said, what's the priority? Like what's 1, 2, 3, what are you prioritizing first, I guess?
And so that's what we discussed at our board meeting on Monday night, because we have some initial plans, some drawings, and we have some initial estimates, and I knew that they would come in higher than old estimates. Didn't expect them to come in this high, but they're coming in 20%, 25% higher than budgeted, and so that forces us to prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps we can't do all 3 projects this year, but it also forces us to temper our expectations on how much we can do in 1 year. And therefore, what is the highest priority? It's the emergency room. Which one of these facilities are used every day, 24 hours a day, 365 days? It's the emergency room.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it is one of the smaller emergency rooms of the critical access hospitals or rural hospitals in the state.
Yeah.
So it's always needed attention. But we really need to prioritize that this year because costs aren't going down.
Mm-hmm.
And so emergency room, we'll be able to expand the waiting area.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to pick up 2 additional exam rooms, and we'll finally have a real ER nurse station so that all activity can be monitored from one station.
Yeah, I'll save the question I have for after we talk about how inflation is impacting your outlook on these projects. What are you looking at there?
So that's really a subject I've spent a lot of time analyzing. On Tuesday, I spoke at a conference, and it was described as a hospital without walls. And it's because of inflation that hospitals are being pressed to find ways to provide access to care that do not involve a lot of bricks and mortar and building because of the high cost of labor and materials. And so we took a look at the average small hospital and what it had cost to build it back prior to COVID. And it was about $488 per square foot. And when we looked at some of the factors that have affected the last 2.5 years, the Suez Canal blockage, the Texas freeze that shut down refining in in 21, June 21, but especially the Ukraine war notched up inflation another level because it has shut down a lot of refineries and the movement and the purchasing of gas between Russia and all the other countries. So we've gone from $488 per square foot to $612 per square foot since that time.
Wow.
And there's no sign. That's about a 25% increase. There's no sign. The trajectory of cost isn't that it's going to flatten out anytime soon. It's that it will continue at some rate of increase that could get us, in a year to $650 per square foot. What does that mean? It means we no longer are going to talk about building an entire new hospital.
Right.
I got a quote for a new hospital, in 2015 of 26 million, and now we're at 46 million.
Oh my goodness.
We're doing very well at the hospital, but we don't want to borrow that kind of money. We can't tell lenders that we can project enough increase in patient volume that would support that. And as a result, we're focusing on these three projects and projects similar to that. Like you said, the roofing project that we have, there's a $600,000 project. We need to move on these things because labor and materials costs are only going to go up as far as we can see.
Yeah. So really, it's not even a matter of, maybe it is a little bit, but maybe it's not even a matter too much of necessity versus cost. It's do it now, or you face the challenge of it costing even more if you drag your feet a little bit on it.
That's the message from the experts. We had national builders and hospital design people at this conference, and that was the final message that they said. If you plan to build something, you need to do it soon because we can't tell you that these costs are going to level out.
Is it possible? I was going to ask this, and again, our guest in studio is Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services. I was going to ask this. Is it possible that the emergency room is the only project you get in this year because of cost?
Not so much of cost. There's weather-related issues. There's how much resources do we have in the hospital? We're a small hospital, small maintenance crew. We have to contract all this out. Something like the emergency room, we're prioritizing it, not just because of cost, but because it's the one item that we have to send our project cost estimates and our designs to Illinois Department of Public Health.
Oh.
And we can't control when they might respond and come in and say, yes, we bless this project. So that's a second reason besides cost that we have to get on the emergency room renovation.
So can you, just kind of a technical thing, can you start working on, the project in terms of putting it out for bid, in terms of, getting the ball rolling with contractors so that you can lock in the costs now as you wait for that IDPH blessing? And let's say for some ungodly reason they say no, you can just say, all right, guys, project's off. We don't need all that stuff. We don't need anything anymore. You're just kind of out the cost of whatever it took to get to that point. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And we can put the word out there, but because we are municipally owned hospital, the actual formal step of putting things out to bid, there's a timing effect there. When folks put things out to bid, then we'll tell them these bids are good for only so much time. So we'll get the word out there that we're working on it, but we will push off the actual formal bidding until we get some sense from the state that, here's when we're going to give you an answer. I mean, in the past during COVID, there might have been 90 to 120 day wait. Things are more normal. They're staffed up again, perhaps only a 30-day response time wait.
Anything else on how inflation is impacting outlooks on projects, costs of projects? Anything I missed in that conversation you wanted to highlight, Paul?
Just that not just do we have to sharpen our pencils, but we have to be more rigorous about the design concept and trying to be as efficient as we can with every square foot. That's why we spent time doing 5 different versions of the emergency room already. Look at it and say, let's look one more time. Can we get maybe one more exam room out of the other space, the landlocked space that we have, by moving something else around?
Is inflation impacting the hospital in other ways? I think of energy costs. I don't know how much fuel you all use, since you don't have an ambulance service anymore. I know you've got your vehicles, but they seem to run mostly maybe in town and sparing trips out of the area. But is inflation impacting your budget in other ways beyond just your outlook on these projects?
Well, overall, the cost of labor has gone up 14% during the last 18 months because of COVID and the nurse shortage, and the fact that we had to use staff agency nurses for some emergency room positions and so forth. That's starting to get reduced. But when labor costs went up, they're not going to go down. So they're now at a higher level. Materials are one thing, their availability and their cost. But then there's, the availability of the skilled labor to do some of this stuff. That's still tight. So, unemployment is not really high. It's low. And there's not a lot of laborers and technicians. So contractors are very diligent about how they're going to schedule work.
Sure. So, well, Paul, I'll tell you what, I look at the clock. We are up on a break. Again, inflation. Any other talking points you want to make known to us as we speak this morning?
The bottom line effect is that the insurance companies do not pay us more just because of inflation. They might increase rates 2 or 3%. And if our costs are going up 12%, means we really have to be good at budgeting going forward.
For sure. So will things get tighter, towards the end of this year as you look to next year's budget? Have you thought about that at all?
We've thought about it a lot as we worked on this budget that we presented to the city council. We were more tempered in our expectations. We're still projecting a healthy profit,
sure,
but much less than the prior years.
Yeah, sure. Well, Paul, let's take a break here. Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services, my guest in studio here for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to come on the morning show.
Your own home without the maintenance. If you're 55 or better, a beautiful Liberty Village villa could be yours. This is Erin, and I invite you to come take a tour of our move-in ready villa. Click the Liberty Village icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Simply the finest.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
Come to the unveiling of the Prairie Flyers exhibit at the C.H. Moore Museum and Homestead in Clinton on Saturday, May 28th. The exhibit, located at the Carriage Barn, will highlight the stories of aviation in DeWitt County. The museum has asked for artifacts and stories from DeWitt County residents, and they've delivered, with them being unveiled on May 28th. There'll be special activities for kids and adults that day to kick off the exhibit, which will be on display until July 3rd. Join the C.H. Moore Museum and Homestead in Clinton as they celebrate the Prairie Flyers, a century of aviation in DeWitt County, starting Saturday, May 28th.
Noah Atkinson here, owner of Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs in Lincoln. Proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month.
Serve Pro of Piatt DeWitt Counties is the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. They have their own crews to do the work quickly and efficiently to give you peace of mind. Remember, Serve Pro of Piatt DeWitt Counties for cleaning, restoration, and construction. They'll receive a $200 gift certificate good at Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs for being our WHOW WEZC Lincoln Printers Business of the Month. Nominate a business you'd like featured by emailing us at whow@randyradio.com.
Lincoln Printers and Sign Designs reminds you that if you're in need of anything printed, from envelopes and wedding invitations to signs, banners, and even vinyl wraps, think of us. Find us online at lincolnprintersinc.com.
This is The Morning Show on 92.3 FM in DeWitt County. WHOW.
Once again, and good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services, is my guest in studio. And Paul, you mentioned in that first segment, and you talked about this a lot with me, just as we prepare oftentimes for our conversations, that you're the head of a network that specializes in rural healthcare and you all meet in Springfield. And a lot of what we've talked about this morning, you presented to that group group in recent weeks. Talk a little bit about that network, what it's all about, and again, your kind of role with that whole thing.
Well, I'm president of Illinois Critical Access Hospital Network, which is a hospital network made up of 57 hospitals, but Jacksonville Hospital just became Passivant Hospital. Jacksonville just became our 58th hospital to join the group. And they just achieved what's the federal designation called critical access hospital status. So now they're part of our network. I just welcomed their group this morning. So they will be part of the 58 hospitals that get together and we share ideas. And the theme was hospitals without walls. How can we be more and provide more access to our community? And each one of the hospitals shares their ideas on what they've done. And it gives us some food for thought on what we can do locally that doesn't involve building a bigger building.
What are some ideas that have come out of this group in recent years, and maybe more specifically before COVID? Because we know COVID changed a lot of things, but what about maybe before COVID that folks would remember or notice, I guess?
Well, they would remember telehealth. There was a lot of talk about telehealth, and we've incorporated telehealth. We had to when the building was shut down in the worst part of the public health emergency. And we continue to have telehealth available for those patients, and the technology is there for those patients to look at if they have a computer, look at their screen and talk to our doctors if they're not well enough to leave the home. So many of the hospitals have attached some of their specialty providers into the telehealth version, and we're not doing that right now, but it's something to discuss for the future. Behavioral health, perhaps that can be done on a telehealth basis. But some other interesting things, down in Sparta, Illinois, Sparta Hospital has 2 mobile clinics, and it's like having a walk-in clinic in a mobile van. They had so much demand from the first one, they just added a second one, and they have 4 locations around town, like the Walmart in town. One day a week, they will be at the Walmart for 6 hours. So those are neat ideas that we have to look at. Home health agencies, we don't have one ourselves. We don't intentionally go to people's homes, but if the demand increases and we see the need, perhaps that's something we'll look at in the future.
When it comes to just the the idea of networking and feeding off each other and finding ideas and those sorts of things, have you provided anything that has been innovative, I guess, for other hospitals? How about that?
Actually, this discussion that we had just prior about how to get more utility, how to get more revenue per square foot when you are landlocked like we are. You can't expand out into the fields like they did in Carthage, Illinois. So some of the ideas about looking at the entire building, don't just look at the one project. Older buildings like ours have too many entrances. How to have better security, how to use technology to have better security to prevent break-ins and things like that. So some of that stuff we were able to focus on. There was the president of Southern Illinois University spoke, and he talked. I told you that we're recruiting physicians, and we have a new one starting in October. And there's another position that a physician position we're recruiting. And he spoke about the kind of physicians that are coming out of school. He's got the Southern Illinois University Medical School, but he speaks nationally. And he spoke about the different kind of physicians that are coming out of school. So that was an interesting conversation. It brought home the point that like physicians today are younger and are more technologically proficient, they also don't want to be on call. They don't expect like the couple of doctors that we have on our staff now that still will take call and come to the hospital. That's an old concept to these kids coming out of school.
Really?
Yeah. They want to go to their kids' t-ball games and, and swimming and all that stuff. And in the old days, the doctors relied on their wife to do that or something, but now everybody's working. So that was an interesting concept.
Yeah, that is an interesting concept. Well, Paul, I'll tell you what, in our final minutes together here, I heard a tidbit the other day and thought I'd bring it up to you. The Substance Abuse Coalition that was very
necessary.
Necessary,
yeah.
about
About
what?
6 years ago.
I was going to say 6-7 years ago, but yeah, it has disbanded, and a lot of people hear that and think, oh my goodness, what happened? It's not all a bad thing. Remind us what the Substance Abuse Coalition, what its purpose was, and kind of why it has disbanded in recent months.
Yes, it came together because all the stakeholders in town, and it happened in all the communities in rural Illinois, but specifically in DeWitt County, the stakeholders in town that saw that the state was not providing the resources for substance abuse and mental health issues. And so at the time, the administration at that time was trying to balance the budget. And as a result, they were providing much less resources to counties and towns. And so it hurt. And we ended up closing our HRC, Human Resource Center. And so we had less assistance for those disadvantaged in the community that didn't have insurance and things like that. And so we all came together and we provided guest speakers, we provided resources to help people figure out where to go to try and find recovery beds for substance abuse users and things like that. The organizations like Heritage were so instrumental in that gateway. And now those institutions, Chestnut up in Bloomington, they've been given more state and federal resources, and they have the resources. So there's no need for a local substance abuse coalition anymore. And that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. It was a kind of a network of, okay, we offer this. If you encounter this, contact us. Now and if we can't help you, what do we do? And it sounds like there's just so much availability because of, an influx of dollars that there's more emphasis on these things.
Nationally and in the state, there are in the Midwest, there's more consciousness of how important these things are. And as a result, federal and state dollars have gone back to those organizations, have advertised, found their own resources, grown their businesses, increased their staff, increased bed capability. The hospital systems, Carl, Broman, OSF, they've all increased capabilities to provide services. And so now it's just a matter of our emergency room. When we see a patient that's got those issues, we'll go right directly to those resources. We don't have to go to a middleman like a substance abuse coalition.
Paul, always good to have you in the studio. Thank you, my friend. Paul Skowron, CEO of Warner Hospital and Health Services. Our guest. Network News is now.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington.